Just let me know when we're live.
We're live now.
Oh, we're live now?
And
Oh,
that's it. All right.
all
Hey,
right.
everyone. Welcome. Talkin' Shop with Outlier Firefighters. A little bit of a rename here. We're trying to, move something that rolls off the tongue a little bit better. So I'm Alex Tanner. I'm here with Kevin Tracz. We're going to be talking fire stuff, all sorts of fun things. Quick little segue. If you are going to FDIC next week, I will be there. I hope I run into you. If you saw, I did a beginner's guide and some tips and tricks for having a good, successful training day. That's up on my page right now, and FDIC kind of partnered with me a little bit for that. So if you wanted to give it a, check it out, see what it's all about. Yeah, shameless plug there. And that's pretty much it for me. So I'll just send it over to Kevin here to tell you all about himself.
Yeah. Well, Tanner, you and I, we met way back when. What was that, 2010, summer, August, something like that, of 2010. We went to the Quad 2, push him through, part-time, 2-night-a-week fire academy.
Hey, Vandenberg's
Bunch
in
of,
here, okay?
bunch of nobodies. What up, Jay?
But yeah,
Shameless
we're
plug there.
Academy buddies.
I
Oh no, we already lost you. Oh boy. Yeah, we went through in 2010 together. Kevin's also probably like 10 years younger than me, I think, because I'm like the old man now. I feel like, but Jay just lightning bolted him. He's done. All he had to say was push it through. Oh boy,
oh,
Kevin,
hey, we're back.
you're kind of back. I think
Kind of back.
Vandenberg did some stuff behind your back there to just cut your feed.
He got some voodoo going on. That round town voodoo. It's all right. Hare's a better battalion chief, anyways. Ooh. Yeah. So, I'm 31 now. So I don't know how old you are.
Nah, I'm just kidding. You're only 2 years younger than me, but you were young. It felt like you were the youngest one in our class. I remember.
Dude, I was a shit. I think that's really the only appropriate way to say it. I was a young and dumb, fresh out of high school. I needed my ass whooped. I'll tell you that right now, looking back at all of it. But no, I got involved in the fire service in high school as an explorer. I started out in Lincolnshire as an explorer. And I was there too. I don't know if Craig's listening or not, but I was there the night that Craig, Brandon, and Andy, I think it was those three, all got the news that they were getting hired full time. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's here. He
But
says that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
we were at Station 53 in the very nice training room that they got there, and Lieutenant Neasley at the time was like, "Yeah, you guys want to be like these three because they're getting full-time jobs," and it'll just the whole room kind of went silent, and
Oh boy, Kev, we're gonna have to figure out this Wi-Fi thing.
the Wi-Fi.
I know.
I don't know what's going on. I got
Maybe try swapping over to the iPad or something.
I could do that real quick. Yeah,
Give it a shot. Give it a shot.
yeah. Give me 2 minutes here.
Just jump back in because you don't have to. Well, whatever. I
I'll
might have to approve you, but do your thing.
do my thing here. Let's
Oh,
see here. Let's see here. Let's see here. What is that? Meet.google.com/.
I'm gonna mute you for a sec. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Jay, the Quad 2 repeater is down right now for sure. Oh, yeah, he can still hear me. That's awesome. uh, so those of you that don't know, maybe you're outside of our circle. I don't know how big or wide a net this podcast is caught on to. The area that Kevin and I started in, our county up here in northern Illinois. There's four quadrants they would call them, and we both started up in kind of that quad 2 area, which had its own like localized fire academy. So I went through with him. We were not in the same company, but there were I think there were 10 companies of four, maybe a little bit more than that. Now, yeah, probably about that. See, now that I have you muted, you're there's no issue at all. That's all right. Uh, but yeah, and quad 23 structure fire response. Oh, that's good. Dude, I don't know. Oh, oh, you have to unmute yourself. I can't even unmute you. What kind of crap is that? I don't know. Just roll with it, dude.
There.
Just roll with
I'm.
it.
This has cellular.
We're gonna keep trying. Sorry, my lovely wife's here right now. She must have heard we're having problems.
My phone's not working either.
Oh, that's great. So it must really be something else going on.
Huh. Well, yeah. I mean,
So yeah,
if you
we'll
have
just keep
to, you might have to go to the cell phone and go with cellular and get off your Wi-Fi. But
possibly.
we'll
Let's see here.
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll just keep rolling here.
We'll keep going. So anyway, back to you.
Yeah,
So
that was a part-time academy. Hung out at Lincolnshire as a paid-on-call firefighter for a little bit until 2011 when I left. And I got a part-time job in Wakanda, and ever since then, that's where I've been at. I worked at Grays Lake Fire for a few years just before getting hired full-time. And then for a couple of years, I worked with the Illinois Fire Service Institute started out as a stoker. I think what they refer to as a basic instructor, and then got promoted to assistant field instructor, which is just the next level up. Primarily worked with the engine company operations group for a little bit, and then having a family and kiddos and commitment between family life and traveling several hours to be gone for several days, I sided with family, with a more of a focus for instructing with where I'm at now in Wakanda. So we got a great little thing going on with our department, Round Lake and Grays Lake. Sometimes like Zerk decides to show up, like if they're feeling cool enough or something.
we'll feel cooler eventually.
Whatever, it is what it is. But McHenry Township, they use our facility often. We actually just hosted in conjunction with McHenry a advanced fire class, state certificate class. So that was pretty cool. But other than that, I'm the kid of a cop. My dad was in law enforcement for nearly 38 years. He retired as a police chief. And the best part about all of it too is two things. The first thing is that when he got out of the Air Force as an MP, he started in Wakanda as a cop, and him and his buddy got in with the firemen there, and they're like, "You guys should be volunteer firemen with us," and so they joined. I went through all the old meeting books and found the meeting where they got voted on for their probationary period, which was 6 months. And then at another meeting where they were both voted to be retained thereafter. So there was actually a vote system back then in the 80s, early 80s. And then when he retired, somebody was like, "Hey, Chief, would you do it all over again if you had the chance?" And he's like, "No." "Well, what would you do?" "I'd be a fireman." Well, why is that? Everybody loves firemen. Everybody hates the cops, and that was just it was funny back then, but unfortunately, it's kind of, I think he might have been predicting the future a little bit with that comment. But we love our brothers in blue. So.
We do. They got a tough job. That's for damn sure, and it's a tough time to be a cop for sure.
Absolutely is. So, but yeah, that's kind of me. Married for the last few years now, and I got two beautiful little girls. Kenzie, my oldest, is turned 3 back in December, and Collins, my youngest, my little redhead, my little fiery child, she'll be 2 in July. So
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I mean
We're
that.
right there pretty much in the age, huh?
Yeah, I think that's everything I got to say about that.
Yeah.
I don't
Very
know.
cool.
Yeah,
Well, let's roll into some questions then. So,
yeah,
you kind of are starting to lead down that path because it's so easy to start talking about where you got your interest from because that's right. That's your foundation. So,
right.
what got you initially interested in the fire service? And you can expand on what you've kind of already talked about, or maybe there's something else.
Yeah, so let's see. The movie came out in '91, but when I turned 4, I had a huge infatuation with a small production movie based out of the city of Chicago. I think Kurt Russell was in it. Um, Someone by Baldwin, not the one that got arrested, and I think Jack McGee. I think he was in it also. Little small time guy. Um, but of course, I was that 4-year-old kid who was obsessed with that movie, repeating lines left and right. My family had to actually record on a VHS tape, including all the commercials from like a TNT presentation or USA. You know, this little movie called Backdraft. So that's where, yeah, I could say it really started. But then through the years, your interests change and everything. And come high school, I was like, my dad's a cop. Maybe I'll try to be a cop. Did the police explorer thing in Lincolnshire also my freshman year, and I'm like, yeah, no, this is not for me. There's way too much paperwork, and I just want to do the cool shit, and there's not that much hype to it. Um, but then realistically, my neighbor was a fireman. He was I believe a retired deputy chief for Evanston. Um, but had some other family friends that were in the fire service. Got a chance to go to the tech campus here in Lake County to shadow and view their firefighting program. And my senior year of high school is when I really got involved with that and being an explorer. And I kind of decided that that's what was for me. Um, and it's just I've been rolling with it since.
That tech campus was huge for a lot of people in our area.
Still is.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, not just for firefighting, but
Well, yeah, yeah.
I would say, you know, there's I couldn't believe how many kids were in the beauty classes for being a hairdresser and all that jazz. They had the police one, welding, automation. It was always fun to go there and have lunch and see what the kids in the cooking class were doing. So
I actually went to like 2 days of building trades. I thought I was going to go be a carpenter for a little while.
mhm.
I liked woodworking. I was in woodshop all throughout high school, and by the time it came to pick something, I knew that uh, I wasn't going to go to college. You know what I mean? Like I'm not that kind of person. So I was trying to find something, and I went into building trades because I was interested in it. And now I really wish that I would have stuck with it because all that knowledge would have directly benefited me now as a
Oh,
fireman.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's something that I've gotten into in the last few years is carpentry in general, just little projects, but really learning how buildings are put together and the whole construction between it. Even in the neighborhood that I'm in now, found myself going out walking and stopping and you know driving through because we had Pulte just came in and built a bunch of homes and wow, the way homes go up these days, I tell you what.
It's crazy how quick they
It-
go up too. I
oh,
mean, all of a
absolutely.
sudden they're dried in like
Yeah,
week, not even it feels like.
yeah. But yeah, no, I can definitely appreciate the. I knew pretty quick that higher formal education was not going to be in my future anytime soon.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know how to phrase it other than that, right? Like
yeah,
you're a doer, you're a blue collar person, like you just
I was very happy with my summer job, cutting lawns and picking up trash for the park district, and working with my dad in the village on weekends doing public work stuff basically, and um, yeah, just I mean small things like that just made me really realize that I'm more of a worker than sit and listen to somebody lecture.
yeah, I feel you for sure. So when you got involved, you know, with the Explorer program and you got in, Did they do a lot of teaching you about fire service culture, or was that more learned later on in your career?
Yeah, no, so that was definitely learned later on. Like I mentioned before, I was kind of a hothead little shit. Um, I needed a come to Jesus moment, and I got when I got to Wakanda, I worked a few shifts here and there across the board, across all the shifts, trying to get myself acclimated and familiarized to everybody. And I figured out at that point that gold shift was probably my best bet. Um, and I took a more serious approach to it because I could tell pretty quick that I was going to be more heavily relied upon as far as staffing goes, and the expectations were pretty high, and um, some of the guys really kind of came down to me in the beginning to set the tone, and it was cool. It was good. It was in a good way, but I would stay up at night with our battalion chief as he was doing his call entries and everything in firehouse and whatnot, and try and learn about Wakanda. And slowly through that, learning about the history of the Wakanda Fire Department, um, back from when it was originally established in 1899 as an insurance company in the Wakanda Niagara, all the way through its until it was a private corporation, and then it became a fire district in 2007, and so on and so forth. Um, that's where I realized that it's it's cool to know fire service history, but it's even cooler to know your department's history. And I think once learning more about the department history and traditions and why there's emphasis on certain things at Wakanda, um, gave me a better appreciation for just the history in itself. So,
I love that. I couldn't agree more. Um, I I don't know. Are you familiar with Scott Thompson at all and the Colony?
yeah, yeah,
Right. So he talks about culture a lot, and he talks about like your department's culture and then like the macro culture of the fire
yeah,
service. And I think that's one thing that a lot of firemen don't have both. You know what I mean?
hmm,
Or a lot of them don't have either. But um, you have a great take on that, right? Is it's cool to know that Benjamin Franklin did all this stuff, and all these other things, and those are great things, which I love learning about and understanding. But you couldn't be any more right about your own organization's history. There's some significant importance to that because it gets
yeah,
forgotten, it gets lost. It's not
yep,
famous. Wakanda's not famous over the world. Well, I guess, I could make a
yeah.
Black Panther joke,
Well,
but like,
Wakanda forever.
yeah, but
I got a story about that too.
but
Jeez.
yeah, the only way that stuff gets carried on is either it's written down. You happen to have like a museum in your station, or you.
I was gonna say the members are the museum because
Yeah.
I mean we got some good pictures and everything. Um, but as far as we have our original 19, geez, it's I feel bad. I should know this. It's either a 1932 or 1934 Persh um, that was purchased, and I want to say it was. I found the ledger for it. It was purchased for like $12,000 or something like that. I mean, like pocket change now, but back then it was big money.
Yeah.
Um, but like that's pretty cool. And then the cool part about our Persh is that we had an individual. He retired a few years ago, but he's got a auto restoration company. He took that vehicle to his shop and he worked on it diligently, blasted it all down, repainted it, pretty much made everything in working order other than the pump because it was determined it was just
Oh man, lost you again, Kevin.
Jesus.
Oh wait, you're back.
Back.
Matt Savage says Engine 2 was purchased for $7,700. Oh man, Kev. We're gonna have to figure this out. While we kind of wait for Kevin to get back, I was fortunate enough. My first apartment celebrated 100 years in 2013, and they did a pretty cool ceremony for it. And there's actually an interesting story. They have a 1923 Stoughton that had been sold at one point to a fire district that doesn't exist anymore. Shout out to Knollwood, but way back when they sold it to them, and then ended up making its way back at some point, restored into Antioch, and they still have it. They have a 1923 and a 1932, and it's pretty cool that things like that still exist and survive in a way. Kevin's back a little bit here.
Maybe for a hot tick.
It's all right.
So yeah, trying to get this figured out here. Yeah. So I mean that's pretty cool as far as our perch goes. We got some good photos up across the wall. But a lot of it's just a lot of oral tradition passed on. I know Antioch Station 1 there had that little museum in that front corner, glass.
Yeah,
I don't know if they still do or not.
I was just talking about the Stoughton, but yeah, I mean, last I was there, they still have that little museum section. I think currently Lake Zurich doesn't have anything like that. We're a little bit different. I think a lot of the historical things didn't quite make it when they transitioned from from paid on call over to full time in '88, and there was some weird bad blood issues with that. But I don't know if a lot of organizations don't necessarily have that museum thing. So it's, I mean, to have artifacts like that is almost unheard of unless you're in like Chicago or something like that. Kevin, if you can hear me, why don't you try switching over to your phone and jumping in and trying to get off your Wi-Fi? And let's try that. Maybe that'll help keep you from cutting out. If you're in the chat right now, I'm curious on that subject of artifacts and history of your organization. What kind of things does your department have that would be special in that way? Or if you were having a guest come into your house, how would you then, show your history off? Do you have a way to do that? I was fortunate enough to work in Round Lake as well, in Round Lake before they renovated, which Jay, I gotta come visit you guys at some point. They actually renovated their station. You guys are going to get a weird little split thing because of my overlay, but we'll get Kevin back in here in a sec. So, they had a little museum. A lot of bigger departments that I've seen have some sort of museum, but just curious. You guys that are watching live, and if you're in the chat here, what does your organization have? Trevor here says old pictures is about it. So your old pictures, are they displayed in a specific place? Do you have you bring a new guy in, or you bring a guest in, or someone from anywhere in the public, and you want to show off those things? Do you have a place specifically for it? Or is it just kind of there and on the wall? Trevor, take that. Get back to me about it. And then Jay, yeah, I forgot about that that Chevy ambulance and the old Stoughton in Round Lake. Old Pete, right? I feel like I should remember that. But was that wasn't like one of the originals, that 46 Chevy, right? I wish I could pull up some pictures of some of these things. I might be able to do it, but. Yeah, Trevor here saying some are displayed in cases, and the rest are sitting in a box in the BC office. See, like that. As someone that I don't think I found that stuff, and I know there is history. At Lake Zurich, we're fortunate where one of the old retired fire stations was actually bought out by the Volunteer Firefighters Association, and we actually use it for like parties and things like that. I mean, it's still got a hole up in the ceiling for when they would drop down straw and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to have that. I know that's pretty well unheard of.
Matt's laying in bed.
Did I do it?
You're in. You're in again.
Jesus.
It's all right. Whoa, look at it.
I can you just turn the switch on? Yeah. Or the outlet switch.
It is.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no.
Hey,
So I had to get my wife.
no worries.
She's I'm not the greatest tech savvy person, so
It's all right. We're adapting and overcoming, right? Isn't that's
adapt and overcome. Yeah.
right? I think Bear Grylls taught me that, but either way. Catching you up, I was kind of playing on the chat a little bit,
Sure.
and we were talking about historical things because you were talking about what you got in Wakanda, and kind of playing back and talking about how not every organization has those artifacts, or they don't have them displayed as well, maybe as they probably could be.
Right.
So, it's cool to have that stuff, and you're very fortunate to be able to show those things off. So.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean it's great because we pull our perch out for parades all the time. Hell, even we've had retirees be driven out on it from the station. And a couple of years ago, one of the guys he got married, and him and his bride drove around town. They did a couple hot laps in it and everything. So it was it's a pretty cool thing to have out. Our rescue association's got a nice sign made for it, and whenever they go out places, they bring it with, and we got a nice trailer for it now. So it doesn't have to be driven; it can be trailered, and yeah, it's pretty cool to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Your wife says, "Don't worry, I plugged the iPad in." Matt Savage also says here, retired folks are historians, and absolutely right. Make them welcome. Make sure they know they can come into your firehouse anytime.
Yeah. So those of you, that's lieutenant, deputy, division, training chief, public education extraordinaire. Gonna be the best guy ever. He's my lieutenant on shift, red shift represent.
I'm not
So that's my little toss out to him.
I'm glad you
So.
covered his rank because
Yeah.
I can't exactly see that in the old.
No, it's all
Just-
good.
we're all firemen here, right? Isn't that the point of that? So
No, he'll get the joke behind it all.
all right, well, sounds like he was kind of influential to you. Who influenced you the most early in your career, though?
You did. No.
Well,
It's to try and nail down any one single individual would not be fair. I was thinking about that. You gave me the questions ahead of time to kind of have an idea what we were going to talk about, and that was one of the questions that there's been so many influential individuals since I started there. I mean, it's even people that I've butted heads with. I learned something from them, whether it was good or bad or whatever. It was just realistically a lot of the membership at Wakanda has been enormously influential, positively influential, I'll say even. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I can't really say any one person, but it's just I can tell you that Matt, he already knows this, is that I'm extremely grateful for him as my lieutenant. As far as his demeanor, I think he embodies. This is no joke. He already knows this, so I'm not trying to score brownie points with him on the interwebs here, but he embodies that part of being a company officer where you can tell that when you're talking to him, he's listening, and he pauses and he digests what you've said and gives actual, like, legitimate feedback. Anything from work advice to life advice. I can say that I'm extremely grateful that he's my lieutenant currently. He's a solid, squared away individual. Tactically, I think he knows that he can. I'll follow him into whatever. Period. and that if he gives me a task or an assignment, that I'll do whatever I can to get that accomplished. So that's kind of working relationship that I have with him. But yeah, there's just, I mean, everywhere from blue shirts to lieutenants to battalion chiefs, division chiefs. You know, it's you may have heard the name Al Schlick mentioned before. Timmy Leidig, if he's in this, I know Timmy mentioned Albert several times. He was the training officer in Wakanda when I started, and yeah, without getting too choked up here, I'm fortunate to have one of his helmets in my garage and a set of his tools. So, Eddie Dagdick.
Yeah, you had the sweatshirt on earlier.
Yeah. He was a lieutenant, shortly made battalion chief after I started. Talk about a guy that when he put in his papers, he came back to the firehouse for every shift. And the night that I was working, he came in and we watched Backdraft. I mean, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to spend that time with the guys. Very smart, very educated. Not afraid to tell you you're fucking up, but here's how we're gonna make it better. Paul Gross, he was a battalion chief that I'd sit down in the office with at night, and he'd give me a lot of tradition and everything. And I'd always ask him, like, is there anything else I can be doing better? What do I need to improve upon? And he'd give me everything I needed. Yeah, I mean, just so many people.
Oh, I love bringing this question up because I had a realization years ago that there were people like, and you just named a whole bunch, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many people that influence you early on and throughout. It's not like it just stops, but that you almost never get to really thank, and you never really get to tell them like what they really did for you. And I hope that when I ask people this question, it kind of jogs that and gets you to, reach out when you can, if you can, and or even just tell the story one more time so somebody else gets to hear about how great some of these people are and were and continue to influence well beyond when they ever thought they could. And if you're listening as well, same thing. If you're thinking about, this question always makes everybody think about those people. Let them know what they meant to you. It's okay. We're big, tough firefighters, and we all let them know what they meant to you. Please, take that away from this. And Kevin, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, going back to my lieutenant who's on board with us right now, I'll be telling the cat story, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about from his time in paramedic school with our current battalion chief and another individual, what cat I'm talking about. And that'll always be a story I share with people. Be like, you should ask Matt about the cat.
Well, tell the cat.
Oh no! This is we're not rescuing any cats. This is not that kind of cat. It's a different kind of cat. But,
fair enough.
I'm sure he's giggling right now. I'm gonna get.
That's enough.
I'm probably gonna be made to clean toilets tomorrow with my toothbrush.
I'll bother you about it later because now I.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to get in kind of the meat of what we were, originally going to talk about, right? And we're talking about jumping from seat to seat, rig to rig, expectations, riding assignments, that kind of stuff. Our corner of the world, if you will, is really actually what a lot of the fire service truly is. The suburban, small companies, flexibility. Share your wisdom, dump it all out. Let's talk about it.
I don't know if I'd call it wisdom, but just
you can call it wisdom.
My opinion on it, and that's the other thing too. Anything that I say here tonight is solely that of my personal opinion and emotions and feelings. It does not reflect any other individual or possibly my employer or anything like that. But this is coming from the horse's mouth.
Nice casual disclaimer there.
Exactly. But yeah, Lake County is unique in a sense that we're not a large metropolitan area. We're not a countywide fire department. Many of us work with smaller crews of, sometimes maybe as little as 2 on an ambulance, or even an engine, or a truck. A good day is having 4 people on a fire apparatus, and we get those sometimes with our part-time staffing during 12 or for at least 12 hours of the shift. We might have 4 people on our station 1 apparatus. Otherwise, for us, like many, we run 3 stations. Our headquarters station has our battalion, has a dedicated engine company with 3 people on it, and at least 2 medics on our ambulance. We love having 3 on our ambulance at station 1, and on certain days when we don't have that third person, it's just the 2. Our squad will chase on certain medical calls, your significant cardiac, respiratory, all that jazz. Whereas our 2 outlying stations are staffed with 3 people. Company officer, either promoted lieutenant or an acting lieutenant, a blue shirt firefighter, traditional member, and then a part-time member. So our part-timers, we used to be pretty heavy in part-time as far as how many people we had working for us. It's kind of dwindled down now, but we have firefighter EMTs for the most part. We have some part-time firefighter paramedics. So even then, not that our EMTs aren't good, because we use the hell out of them for a lot of stuff, because we have to. But there can be a time where you're just operating with 3 people for a significant amount of time, or at least what feels for a significant amount of time, and that's what a lot of America has to deal with.
Yeah.
Where help isn't 2 or 3 minutes away, it's 5, 7, 10 minutes away, depending on where you're at. Operate in areas with no hydrants, so you got to bring your own water. And that downtime between tenders showing up and your tank water seems like forever sometimes. It's definitely a unique area, and I think what makes it a little bit more unique for us, or at least in my experience and observations and everything, and I'm sure there's other areas like us, we are heavily EMS oriented. We run 90%, if not more, ambulance calls. That's what we get paid for, and get paid well to do. And I think, and part of that, we kind of lose sight of our fire skills, because we get so caught up in the mundane activity of, oh, grandma fell again out of bed, or, oh, yep, it's another cardiac arrest. And we're good at it. We are. We don't take any of that for granted, but that's what we're expecting when we show up at 6, 7, 8 in the morning, whenever your shift changes at. So when we have to jump from one vehicle to another, just like being a multi-tool, there's going to be a little bit of disadvantage, maybe is the word, but where we're lacking in some capacity. Maybe not brushed up as well, or maybe we're not prepared for it. So that's why having just as much of an emphasis on the fire side of things as opposed to EMS is equally important. And understanding that early on in your career, from part-time to full-time, or riding backwards to when you become a driver, operator, engineer, chauffeur, whatever you want to call it, all the way up to that company officer spot. It's each role builds upon the last and on to the next. And then it trickles down the other way. When you're that driver, operator, chauffeur, being able to mentor that back step into why it's important to know this position, the backwards position, so that when they get the opportunity to move up to being a driver operator, they know that backseat position, front and forward, all around 360, can do it with their eyes closed, because then that makes the responsibilities of being a driver a little bit easier.
Yeah.
While also that driver operator paying attention to the company officer as far as where they want vehicles parked, which way to take to the call, tactics and strategy, so on and so forth, communications. prepares them for that position, and then so on and so forth. With the company officer then making sure their driver is squared away and their back step squared away, so that my company officer knows when I'm riding backwards at I know exactly what line I'm going to be pulling, where I'm pulling it to. They know when they come back from a 360 that front door is probably going to be forced. Line's going to be laid out. Very little direction is going to have to be given, and we're gonna move very fluidly. And being come August, I'll be the senior blue shirt on my shift, which is, it's a scary thought because how did I get here so fast? But also when I'm in that position to mentor from the driver's seat to whoever's riding backwards, to really make sure that I try to hit all these points that when that back step and the officer have to go in on a call, the officer can rely on that back step as much as they may rely on me. So
How important would you say understanding, in this case, right, of the 3-person crew, understanding all levels in any position would be, right? Like, you talk a lot about like automatic work and things of that nature. Obviously, the blue shirt's not going to be as good at being an officer as an officer would be, but there still has to be an understanding between those 3 positions, right?
absolutely.
How do you train for that? How do you prepare even the youngest back step for that mentality?
Unfortunately, I mean, it's that it's nothing that can be taught in an academy. It's all experience based. So I mean, we don't get a lot of fires. However, somebody who's got 10 years on the job, as opposed to one person that's coming in on the first day that just got out of the academy, that maybe they learned something new and cool from the academy that's being taught out there, whereas that guy, that senior member, maybe they didn't have that opportunity to learn something like that. That person can take what's being brought in and say, yeah, it's the kind of applicable here, or it may not be applicable here, but when you're riding in this position, this is the expectation because this is what we run into. And that's just in our area, this is what you're going to see. When we have no hydrants, this is what we do, period. It's our policy, it's our procedure, it's our tradition, it's whatever you want to call it. But that teaching and mentoring of what to expect just makes the fluidness of the call so much easier, right?
Yeah.
I know that when we're on an ambulance call, even if I'm driving, when we get into that box with our patient, depending on what's going on, I'm probably going to be starting the IV. I'm probably going to be doing the 12 lead. Whereas my officer is going to be sitting, taking down notes, maybe pulling up the protocol. But I want to get things done before he asks, well, did you get this? What's this? Well, let's do this. And the same thing translates over to the fire ground. I don't want to be standing in front of the vehicle after he comes to do a 360 and they look at me like, well, yeah, what line do you want? I should already know that, right? And the only way that I know that is that senior member tells me in training at the coffee table during the rig check, hey, if we get this today, this is the expectation. And I think I think expectations get laid out across the board, no matter where you're at. However, I think it's the disconnect in the communication with today's generation coming in. I don't want to sound like I'm some old salty dog, because I'm not, because I fall into this whole millennial thing. However, there's a certain way you have to communicate to people coming into the fire service right now, just like there's a certain way you have to communicate with people out on the street. The days of you're doing it this way, and that's all I'm telling you. And if you don't do it this way, you're going to get in trouble, or I'm going to come down hard on you, or tough shit, move on. It's not my problem. I'm fairly certain those days are gone, or nearing the end. You have to. This is why we do it, and this is the exact why. XYZ happened, so now we're doing it this way, or we do it this way because it sets us up for success in XYZ. You really have to expound on the reason why.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I take, and I try to apply as an instructor with our department when when we're doing, for example, forcible entry. Forcible entry props are strictly there because they're damn near indestructible. You can do millions of reps on them before they break, and they're there so that you can teach the skill set. Anybody can beat a forcible entry door. I mean, that's just what it is. You do it enough times, you can. There we go. You can do it with your eyes closed. You can teach a monkey to do it. However, I try to break it down. This is a Halligan bar. It's 30 inches long. It's 10 pounds in weight. The forks are 6 inches long. The adze and pike are 5 inches. Try and break it down as far as this is the why and how. This is how you use each piece. When this way isn't working, your next best bet is to try it this way and really go through the skill set. So then, because that's what they're looking for coming in. Yeah, instead of just this is how you force a door. Show them one time, and then you do it under live conditions. Like when they're not doing it right, and you're yelling at them, are they really learning? No, you just sound like a jackass. So as far as that, expounding on learning your roles and responsibility as a backstep, how to tag a hydrant, how to pull a line, where to pull a line to, how to throw a ladder, how to force a door, right? When you get promoted up to that driver position, we all talk about how, or I shouldn't say we all talk about it, at least where I work, we like to say the engineer for the first about 10 minutes of an incident of an actual structure fire is one of the hardest working individuals, right? An emphasis on individual, because a lot of what we do is at least two people or teamwork in some fashion, whereas that engineer is kind of on their own for a hot minute.
Oh yeah.
Dragging 5-inch or 4-inch, tagging the hydrant, throwing a ladder, maybe pulling a second line. Being really good at that as a new member, as a backstep, makes doing those skills look effortless, right? And then knowing all those skill sets, where to throw the ladder, when to throw a ladder, when to pull a second line, where to pull a second line to. When you're the company officer, it's already up here, like doing your 360. I already know my back steps pulling a line to the front. We're going to need a second line to the backside here because it's, it actually started on the back and the whole back's going. And that fire that we saw in the front room is just a result of it moving through the structure. So let's, instead of trying to relocate a line that might already be charged, give me a second line to the back quick. Or, hey, I know I'm going to need ladders back here. Or we got a hardened building, and I know I'm going to need companies to soften up the structure. So realizing those certain things early on in your career makes each level easier. So that when you get to that company officer level, you can also then regurgitate it all back, and it's just a circle. It's just a circle of revolving information that makes for good fire companies and unit cohesion. So that's what we're really looking for.
I think
right?
The one thing that a positive that you could kind of take away from like the generational shift, right, is because they came in and we're in that generation. Obviously, we're probably still an old mentality. I think, right?
Yeah.
Like
we definitely came in when it was sit down, shut the fuck up, you listen. Don't ask stupid questions.
And I still resonate with that, right? Like that
absolutely.
Still makes some sense to me. But then, watching that change happen, right, where why needs to be answered for literally everything. And I say that almost in a condescending tone, but like it forced us as instructors to explain all that. And then it made the firefighters smarter. So now when we go on calls, they don't have to be that firefighters standing by the pump panel. Which line do you want me to pull? Like that, that was commonplace. There were lieutenants that would say, "Don't do anything unless I tell you what to do." And
you wait here until I come back, and then I'll tell you what I need.
We have grown so far past that. Probably within, and I'm throwing a number out, but probably within our time, right? Probably in what are we now, 13 years, whatever, 10 years in the last decade.
I was going to say, probably I would say just as a nice round number, 15 years, because you got to imagine there's people before us that fit the bill coming in where it's like they have the appreciation for, okay, I understand this is how things were done. Like, you shut up, you sit down, you're the first one up, at the last one to sit down at the table, first one up is to clean dishes. Which that's a whole, you could have a whole nother discussion on
Well,
that,
then
right?
what's funny about that
But
though is now
but
as leadership's grown, it's like the opposite. Now, like the lieutenant's gonna get up and do the dishes and that kind of stuff
Yeah.
because they respect their guys, and like the captain will be there. Hey, you guys ran your balls off. I'll take care of this, and I'll cook. Like
I tell you what, it's I'll be cooking or just coming in from doing something on the bay floor or whatever, and my lieutenant's doing bathrooms. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, I know how to clean toilets. You guys have been working today. I can do this. You've made my job easy today. I can help make your evening easy also. I'm like, well, I don't know what to do now. I have all this free time. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I'll get under the desk and scare them or something. But yeah, it's funny. It's like we have that appreciation for the old school mentality. Like, I would love to see 3/4 boots and 3/4 jackets come back with leathers, and Scott wireframe air packs come back. You know, I would love to see that. But then I also have the appreciation for, like, well, I really wish somebody would explain to me early on why it's important to know this, instead of it took me 7 years to figure it out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be a lot easier if I just took 7 minutes
Yeah.
to explain why we do it this way to somebody who just came into the job, as opposed to, just figure it out.
Yeah, if you showed me a company
Yeah, no.
officer that would tell you, yeah, no, I don't want my guys to make any decisions. I'm making all the decisions. I would never want my firefighter to be able to do something before I ask. You'd show me a liar. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way as a company officer that you wouldn't want your firefighter to already have pulled the line to the right place and forced the door, made those decisions. And even if they're somewhat wrong in your eyes, you know, if you've trained them to that level to think like you, then you don't have to tell them what to do. And
Right.
unit cohesion, that's everything. That's all part of that small company. That's our reality that you and I work in, and a lot of the country works in, where you don't get some guy. And I am definitely not knocking cities, and I'm not knocking that whatsoever. I mean, they are exceptional firefighters, but they operate within one discipline, one specialization. We don't do that.
I mean, we don't. And that's kind of like the thing, right? I at any point in time could take an overtime shift, end up at station 1, and be expected to come to Lake Zurich on the truck without having driven the truck, rode backwards on the truck, or even been the officer on the truck in months. And all of a sudden, you guys you've been going to be going to the roof for vertical ventilation. Like, I can do that, but it's not going to be lickety split, like as easy it might be as pulling a line or starting an IV.
Well, and then what's ironic about that is, for us, we go, Wakanda's coming with their truck, leave them alone, let them do all the truck stuff. But at the same, like, we don't even have a truck. And if you guys don't show up, guess who's doing truck work? The engine guys. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we don't
ground ladders are ground ladders, no matter how they show up. Axes are axes and saws are saws. That's why we have the complement of tools on our vehicle, that we do in our area. It's you go to a city department to find a chainsaw or a rotary saw on a fire engine.
They're gonna be like, what?
They're gonna be like, why do you have this here? Where's your extra hotel pack? Where's your bundle at? Where's your high rise kit? Like, high rise kit, dude. I got a building with 4 stories to it. Like, I'm just with outside hallways.
No.
Like, I'm just gonna drop a rope down and hoist up a line if I have to.
Well, guess who's coming to our old Motorola building if that's on fire? It's you. So
yeah. So
we've got, what is that? Like, I can't remember how many floors that thing is. I should know, but
we're looking at 4 stories in our district. Our high rises are our large box stores that are just a high rise on its side, right? Yeah. That's our standpipe operations. But that's just what we're expected to do, and it's great going to classes, engine ops, truck ops, if they had a squad ops class, that I'm sure that'd be a hot thing too. Squad 2 Tony out there to teach us cool stuff. Captain or Lieutenant Severide, whatever he is. But a lot of that stuff is coming from city instructors, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's cool. I'd love to have a fire on the 7th floor of a fucking high rise. Like that'd be awesome. Tag into an actual standpipe and either dry stretch it down on a semi clean hallway, or have to reverse stretch it up a set of stairs and then dump into the hallway or whatever, or kick in the adjacent apartment door to figure out a layout of what I'm going into before making the fire room. Sure, that'd be awesome. Nah, man. We got double wides in rural water areas that by the time we get there are, I don't want to say a write off, but we're not left with much to have to worry about.
Yeah.
Or we're going to mutual aid somewhere else, where the roofs already come in. But it's a very different mentality, and it's something that it's nice to know all those things when you go to those classes and bring it back and try and find an application for where you work. But realistically, I want to go to an engine class where it's like, yeah, you work in a small rural community, suburban community where you don't have high rises, but this is what you're going to be expected to do. These are the engine company operations you're going to be running into.
So shout out Bobby Eckert. I just took it last year at FDIC. He does small company fireground operations, and literally everything I did for 8 hours was 2 or 3 people. Everything, and it was the most applicable training I've ever had to my actual position here, and I think that kind of stuff needs to pop up more because again, we're you and we're the American Fire Service for the most part. We're the majority, right?
Yep. I mean, obviously we have our 2 in 2 out policies. I don't know what yours is like, but I know 2 in 2 out. I'm blue card, whatever. You can throw all that fancy stuff out there, but like our 2 in 2 out per our policy does not include our battalion chief, even though they show up on a vehicle with an air pack and their turnouts. They are not considered part of the staffing there. So on your first in vehicle, one of our outlying stations, you got 3 people. You can't meet 2 in 2 out till another vehicle gets there, unless there is suspected victim inside. Right? There's a life safety concern, and then we can obviously deviate from that and go in and effect a rescue. But just like is that building occupied? Well, it's supposed to be abandoned. You don't know that until you get in there and you do a search, right? Even us out here have squatters. We get houses that are abandoned that people will squat in. That they might be in there. They might be the reason the building caught fire. So yeah, there's some things. It's cool to get in with the big city guys and buff out and whatnot, but yeah, Bobby Eckert's got a good thing going on out there with his Eckert Fire Tactics as far as his way of teaching.
Yeah.
If you get him, Aaron Fields, and a bunch of others out there to take over writing firefighter handbooks and manuals and everything, we'd be turning out a better fire service, I think.
Yeah.
Again, my personal opinion.
Well, and that's
more realistic expectations.
Like, I think that firefighters, and I'm not shamelessly plugging my own thing here. We're doing a podcast, obviously, but there's a real grassroots movement that's coming from podcasts, articles that guys write that don't get published in magazines, stuff like that, sharing all those things, and everybody's starting to look at those and go, those really make a lot of sense. Like IFSTA and Josie Bartlett, let's get those out of here.
I run into that stuff. That's almost, you're almost writing about me kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Because that was the one thing that really I took Aaron's nozzle forward class a few years ago, and even if you had the opportunity to sit and listen to Aaron for 4 or 6 hours, just talk, not even take the actual hose movement portion of the class, it'd be worth it, because he speaks a lot of truth as far as just one of the things off the top of my jargon. What's an indirect attack? Well, on the East Coast, it might be XYZ, but on the West Coast, it's ABC. And then here in the Midwest, it's totally something different. And when you start going through the manuals and everything, all the handbooks, at what temperature does metal start to expand? You'll get 3 or 4 different temperatures throughout the same textbook. And it's at what point do the editors not realize that, not hit it? Because you can go and take a standardized test and have 2 of the same temperatures that were mentioned in the book be answers and get that question wrong.
Yeah.
Because you, instead of hitting A, you selected C, right?
Yeah.
Starting with that kind of stuff is kind of getting the same information across the board would be really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, some of these individuals, the grassroots movement, I think that's the answer as far as let's realistically talk about this. What, firefighting is a trade. It's also craftsmanship. It's not something that's white collar by any means. It's not a business. This is down and dirty work. When we get called to do what we get called to do, let's make it simple. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated.
Yeah.
Like, let the guys be guys.
Yeah.
And I say that to include the gals too. It's just, so.
Absolutely. Let people do their jobs, right? Let us
Yeah.
be intelligent. Who knows more about fire than firefighters? Nobody.
Exactly.
Right? Especially now with access to everything. I mean, nothing's really put behind a paywall. You don't have to subscribe to stuff. Like, it's just out there. FSRI, Rescue Survey, all the Project Mayday, all those things, they're free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's all good information just at your fingertips. Yeah. You got to pay for a lot of the NFPA stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could go take an engine ops class, and it might not even be applicable to how I operate.
No, but if it's Timmy Klett's class, you're just gonna have a fun time because it's Tim Klett. He's good people. Make sure if you ever do, and anybody listening to this, brush up on your movie references because he's a big movie buff.
Yeah.
He likes throwing out movie quotes.
He's the IFSI one, right? Klett, right?
No, Klett.
I know that familiar now.
Yeah. You might be thinking of Fredericks. And Fredericks, he was a big.
Fredericks is.
He was a big guy at IFSI, but.
Andy.
Yeah.
I got it. I got the book of Andy over. I had it printed. Yeah.
I got one of the contraband books, if you will.
Oh yeah.
The hardcovers.
Yeah, I probably did.
There was a limited edition print because somebody got a little pissy pants about it and told them to stop printing it.
Yeah.
Even there's zero profit to be made. It was all the cost of the book was to cover the cost of the book, and that was it.
I took the PDF. I went on a website and I had it printed in a softcover book.
Yeah,
just for me.
That was fine, but I think of the fact that it was marketed and being sold on the Facebook. That's what the big problem was. But
yeah. So I'm trying to think of anything else with that small company. I mean, we covered the crew cohesionness. We covered knowing the roles and responsibilities up and down, back and forth, right? Balance of EMS and fire training, right? And trying to figure out, where you focus your efforts on that kind of stuff. Mentorship. Do you guys do a formal mentor program where you assign one person to one person?
So we've done that before in the past, and it was when we had several new hires at one time. We got a SAFER grant, so we were able to hire 3 or 4 of them on that grant. And I actually got to be one of the mentors for my shift. And it really was riding with that individual for 10 shifts and getting them acclimated to shift life. Before that was 2 weeks of days where they were acclimated to the department, and we put them through a little bit of a in-house academy, if you will. As far as the first day they get all their paperwork shit done, and then start moving on station tours, vehicle familiarization, get some experience throwing ladders and pulling lines and just how we operate as a department. along with some vehicle checkoffs so that they can be prepared to start driving ambulances at least, get their licenses if they need it. But other than that, they have a probationary book. There's a JAC committee, a Joint Apprenticeship Committee, that they meet with quarterly during their initial year. It's made of senior membership, and our training officer and the fire chief is part of it also. And basically, throughout the probationary year, the the probationary member is expected to hit XYZ during each quarter. They meet and review with the committee any evaluations or emails that the committee may have received, go over any discrepancies, any deficiencies, and also touch on the positive stuff like, hey, you're doing really good with XYZ. Try and keep it, somewhat positive experience. And that's kind of what it's like as far as being a new member on the department goes. We haven't assigned, at least to my knowledge, recently that one-on-one. I'm not sure the reasoning behind that.
It's
but
hard.
it is. I mean, it's hard to move the members around to make sure that we have our appropriate staffing at each station. So,
So because you have the unique challenge, you have both traditional and part time. Do part timers also do a probationary period, or is
they
it
do
just
have a
for full
pro- it,
timers?
no, it's they have a probationary period. It's I don't want to say it's not as strict because obviously we want to maintain a consistency across the board. However, there's more of an emphasis on the traditional members. But the part-time staff still meet with the JAC. They still do numerous days of orientation before they start signing up for shifts to get them prepared to come to shift. A lot of them tend to be assigned to station one when they do start riding. They're fortunate. I mean, it's when I got full time, man. It's my backstep days at station one were done. far far and few between. Whereas when you were part time, you got to ride backstep a lot.
Yeah.
And that's still, I don't want to say it's still true to this day, but they get a lot of backstep experience up at station one.
I mean that's us, and we don't
Yeah.
have part time, but because of hiring turnover, like it's just inevitable, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of like more junior guys do a lot of driving. I do a lot of driving,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. It's,
like we were talking about before, it's giving me an opportunity to pay attention to the officer a lot more,
mm-hmm.
and I've become much more of a right hand for that officer, where I'm already
Yep.
doing things before they even got to ask for it.
Exactly. And that's when, riding backwards and hearing from a senior member, whoever your backstep is, learning from you, like, hey, what do I need to start looking at or doing to prepare for, that position, or how can I succeed in the position that I'm in now? Those conversations are critical.
Yeah.
The morning vehicle check shouldn't just be to go out there and slam some cabinets and be done. It should be, you have an opportunity with a junior member or a junior driver um, to really expound on what that position really means. It's not just driving, putting the vehicle in pump and pulling a lever. It really does come down to thinking steps ahead about when and where certain tools and equipment need to be, looking at your gauges. I love a two-stage pump. Single-stage pumps, yes, they're great. They're kind of idiot-proof, but I love a two-stage pump because that's what I was taught on. Switching from pressure and volume, and watching the compound gauges of what my intake pressure is, my discharge pressures are, how much available water. Figuring out how much available water I have. Like that's all fun nerd shit for me. And being able to look at that and be like, yeah, if we need a second or third line, or if I need to pump through a vehicle, can I make that? Can I do that? And having that answer before being asked is is kind of critical because you don't want to have that delay. Oh,
Yeah.
well, command wants to know if we can get more water. Well, hang on. Let me get my phone out. Let me do some math. Maybe I have this right. Uh, and then it's kind of just one of those things. It's like you either know or you don't.
Oh yeah, that's
So
a hole in my game. I will sit here all day. Mathematics on the fly. Ugh. I used to carry a grease pencil and write
yep.
on the brushed
all
aluminum.
our pump panels have a grease pen.
Yeah.
So, but it's that's important. Marking gauges and writing down little notes to keep track of what you got going on. Even equipment coming off your vehicle.
That's some old school stuff.
Yeah, and that's
And
that's old school stuff that is so relevant to today and will be.
yeah,
Like you can't go wrong with it. It's like a Cummins 12 valve. A couple of wires and that thing will run for a million miles, no problem. There's no computer behind it. It's all mechanical. And that's part of the reason why I like a two-stage pump, because I can really gate and feather it and figure out what's going on, and if something happens, I have more control over it, in my opinion.
I'm totally new to it. I never pumped on a two stage until I started League Zerg, and everything's two stage. And
Yeah,
I'm still figuring that out. I'm still learning, but yeah,
it's fun.
there is I get what you're saying. There's more of a connection to it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel way more in tune to it. It's granted, like I said, it's nice. You can say that a single stage pump is safer, and yeah, I get that. However, I feel a two stage pump is safer because I have more control over what's going.
Yeah.
Less to go wrong. Computers fail all the time. That's unfortunately one thing that we've had poor luck with is the pump controllers going bad on some of our single stage pumps, whereas our two stage pumps that we have left on our 96 Pierce and our ladder tower, you might have to replace a throttle cable every now and then, but for the most part I don't want to call them bulletproof because tomorrow it'll be broke or something, but
Yeah, right.
they're good pumps. So
All right, man. Let's
yeah, what else you got? I mean, I can keep going.
you're doing great, man.
Are there any questions out there?
Feel free, throw some stuff in the chat there. We're gonna roll into a couple other things that we've got on our list, but please reach out. Anything for Kevin. I mean, he's here to talk. That's what he's here for, right?
Yeah.
What keeps you passionate about the fire service? What keeps you engaged?
Coming to work. No, it's just taking classes. I buff. I'm a nerd. I'll watch FDNY on YouTube all day long. My kids love it. My daughters ask for backdraft. So kind of like just keeping it that whole separation from like keep work at work and home at home. We have a balance. I think we have a fairly good balance. I know what to keep at home now, and I know what to keep at work. My family visits me almost every shift at work, so
that's awesome.
They come and see. And I know that some people might be like, why do you want your family coming in every day? But it's like my wife needs something to do with those kids before they go to school, and it's a little mental break for her. And it works out, and the kids love seeing everything. My daughters walk around like, yep, my fire engines, they're here, they're being taken care of, everything's good. But it's great to have them, so we have that balance. But no, as far as just passion, I hit a point when probably like 2014, 2015, where it was like, I'm all in. Like this is what I want. This is what I want to do. And I might have really went into the deep end with it, a little over the top, and that got me in trouble. Ruffled some feathers until I found not being in the shallow end, but being right there in the middle, where if I got a bob and hit the bottom real quick to push myself back up, I can. but for the most part, I got a good balance of it now. I feel um, instructing is a big thing. Being able to pass on any little bit of knowledge that I receive, getting to learn something new from somebody else, um, coming into work with a great crew. Um, my the other full timer that I got at my station, he was out on a job on a non-job related injury, so I was getting floaters all the time. But he's back now, and it's great to have that consistency. Um, yeah, I mean it's just there's a lot, but those are probably the key things. Is just I love my job, and I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm not ashamed of it. And
Hell yeah.
you can talk all the trash you want, and like that's cool, man. Like you're here for a paycheck. God bless you. We need people like you too. Um, but I definitely want to know my job and know it well and do it well and make sure that I can keep that going, keep the tradition and history of our department going and of the fire service in general. I'll do whatever I can for that. So
I love it. Yeah.
stuff like this,
I know. I won't get too much into how
the
great
viewers
this has
didn't
been, but
the viewers didn't get to see my garage, but you saw my garage, and some other people that I know on that might be listening have seen it. But like there's no shame here. I got a fire hydrant, an old used fire hydrant outside my house.
Emily, well, she's probably asleep, my wife, but I keep telling her if one of those ends up on Facebook Market, I'm buying it.
Yeah, well, it's talk to your guys at Public Works.
I should do this.
You want to get something for free because you're gonna spend out the wazoo on Facebook Marketplace. I've seen them for like $200 a used hydrant. Call up your Public Works, man. You want a hydrant? They may be having 10 or 12 of them that they're going to be pulling out in a time period that they're just going to recycle anyways.
Well,
So
sounds
that's
like I've
just
got some conversations to have.
well that was one of the guys at Grace Lake. They did a really cool station kitchen table,
Yep.
and they were looking for fire hydrants to be part of the base. And all I had to do was one call a buddy at Public Works in Deerfield, where used to work. He was like, "Yeah, I got a roll off dumpster full of them. How many do you need?" They still had all the stems. I mean, all like some of them had to be cut because they had so much extra stem on them. But I went over and loaded up 4 or 5 of them and dropped them off, and otherwise they were just going to go get recycled,
Yeah.
melted down, scrap iron kind of deal. But I got a flagpole that's an old wooden pike pole.
Oh, yeah.
I got we call him mini Paul, but Paul Gross, the guy that my old battalion chief I used to sit with, he got up from the Northwoods, this wood carving of a fireman, red helmet, yellow coat, holding an axe, and he was called Mini Paul, and that was was one thing I was able to get from his family after we lost him a couple of years ago. But yeah, man, it's love my job, and
Yeah.
I don't let people get me down on that. So
Yeah. Don't be afraid to love being a fireman, right? Like that's
Yep.
everybody's scared. I think like there was fear of work-life balance, right? And I think somewhere along the line, I think people didn't realize that it's balance. It's not that you ignore one side. You still have to have balance between the both. It's okay to love being a firefighter.
Yep. I mean, little disclaimer here too. My wife, when the time that we met and got together, her uncle may or may not have been my fire chief. So she understands the fire service, at the family level also. So
Yeah.
that helped immensely, as far as understanding the balance between work and life. And yeah, I'm going to bring work home and how to understand and deal with that, and let me know I've brought too much home, and we've had some rough moments, but we've worked through it.
Yeah.
And now we're in a really good place.
Awesome.
So,
That's great to hear, man.
yeah.
Uh, so with that, was there ever a point in your career where you've lost your drive, your passion, and then how'd you get it back?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. There's definitely been times where I've lost it, and um, I think it. I think I lost it because I took things personally. I let people get under my skin. Um, I let the naysayers win. Um, I I got, like I said, I jumped off that passionate deep end, and I was in the Olympic pool deep end. Um, and I looked at where I was working, and I'm like, man, this is not it for me. Like nobody loves the job. It's, we're not this, we're not that. I'm like, I got to go work somewhere else. I got to do this. I got to do that. And it took a couple of humble pies to understand that there's that balance. Um, and It was a slow process bringing myself back up because I felt really down. Like I'm the only one that cares about the job, um, and to realize that people do care about the job where I work. It is a good organization. Provides a lot of what I have to this day, um, but it's also not Stockton, California. It's also not FDNY. Um, it's not all these happen hot pot places that all they do is fireman stuff, um, or really cool EMS stuff for all those EMS people out there in the face pages. I do like working good EMS calls. Don't get me wrong. I'm a closet medic nerd
Hey,
as
you
well.
can't steal that from our story before. I'm just kidding. uh,
I think nerd firemen are also closet nerd medics.
we just like to
'Cause
solve problems, right?
we do. We like cool, intrinsic, like, yeah, this person's like got multi systemic failure. Like what do we need to do and break down and address certain things and watch the progression of stabilization and somebody getting better, coming back from a cardiac. We all love that.
We love getting handed a shit sandwich and turning it into a steak dinner. Like that's just
Exactly.
us. Like
Yep. Yep. Or at least just calling it a chocolate sandwich
yeah,
at the at the end of the
it's
day.
dessert now.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I would say um, finding like-minded people too really helped. Um, that you can connect with, whether at your own department or other neighboring departments. You go to take a class, whether it's a 4 hour um, free class or a 5 day rid under fire kind of deal. Um, you find people in those classes that obviously they're there for a reason, probably the same reason you're there for, and you connect and network. And when you're having those days where it's like, man, this really sucks. What's wrong with where I work? Is there something wrong with me? You rely on those individuals to kind of help you get through that. And I this is again this is straight up just Kevin Tracz thinking right now.
Yeah.
With what I'm about to say. Um, I understand cancer in the fire service is a huge thing. It's a very hot topic right now, and I appreciate the hell out of that. I do. Don't get me wrong. However, I believe it should take a back seat to mental health, and I say that because all the old timers before us, yeah, you just bury that kid. Just forget about it. Move on to the next thing. Don't talk about it. Bury it, bury it, bury it. And this generation can't do that. They got to talk about it. And when you don't provide the appropriate outlets for that, I think is when you get individuals that have career depression. Suicide becomes a possible answer. And that's something that nobody wants to talk about, right?
No.
Talk about cancer all day. But but suicide is something that nobody wants to talk about. It seems like, or very few people want to.
Yeah.
And I think mental health is definitely something that should be taken seriously. There should be an emphasis on it. Like I battle with depression. I see a doctor. I take medication for it. Anxiety. PTSD was even something that was discussed with my doctor.
Yeah.
From childhood events. So with what we see and encounter, to what we deal with in the stations with one another, it doesn't happen just at Wakanda. It happens across the board. But the bad mouthing, the backstabbing, talking behind each other's backs, a lot of that, I think, contributes to the mental health problem that we have in the fire service, in first responders in general. Police, EMS, fire, our military. Mental health is a huge thing that should be taking a forefront. I've kind of accepted that cancer is just something that comes along with being a fireman. Do everything you can to prevent it, absolutely. But I'm not going to be, my jaw's not going to hit the floor if my doctor tells me in so many years that, yeah, you got cancer. Okay. But from, like my biggest thing now is I get terrified mentally and emotionally going for sick kids because I got kids now. Something that, like, whatever. I'm like, yeah, sick kid before I had kids, no problem. Sure. Just another call. Don't know what I'm doing. But now that I got little ones at home, definitely. How am I going to handle a SIDS event or a brewery event or a significant car accident where, there's children in the back that they're not making out of it. They're not going to make it out of the car, kind of deal. Having outlets for that, I think needs to have more of a precedent. So that critical incident stress debrief and everything. But yeah, that's just, like I said, that's me. That's my take on all of it.
So, Kevin, I want to expand on that a little bit, right? And Trevor Stein here says in our chat, 100% can't be afraid to talk about it, and that's absolutely true, right? I thank you first off for being vulnerable and sharing that, right? Because it's not easy for us to talk like that. I put in the chat, there's an organization called Next Rung, and I don't know if you're familiar with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to spread that more because it's peer to peer. It's us taking care of us, right? But outside of that, I think normalizing, and it doesn't. I mean, there's a time and a place, obviously, but normalizing this kind of talk and having these conversations is a good thing, right? I too.
Yeah.
When my first son Jack was born, my very first peds call, parent accidentally dropped the kid down the stairs, and the kid was around the same age as Jack at that time, and the guys all looked at me and were like, "Something ain't right with Alex." Came up and went, "Hey, go drive. You drive to the hospital, right?" And we had to go to Lutheran, and I had never drove to Lutheran. I pulled out the GPS. It was a huge mess. We got there in the same amount of time if I would have taken the route that everybody else goes, but took the GPS route, right? And I get outside, and a guy who I'd worked with before I worked in Lake Zurich comes up to me, and he's like, "Wow, man, you really took forever." Not knowing, like, that, we're firefighters. That's like a normal, there's nothing wrong with him doing that. Yeah. I folded over and bawled, like, just absolutely broke down into tears, crying. He was like, "Whoa," like he didn't know what to do with it, right? And to his credit, like, that was a conversation that he was not comfortable with, was not good at, and was able to pull me into the ambulance, shut the door, let me figure it out, talk to me about it. And we went back to the station. Everybody was uncomfortable. My captain, him, everybody was uncomfortable. We had a good long conversation about it, and I was fine. And I just needed that moment, I guess, to
understanding that as somebody from the outside, like looking in to somebody having that kind of moment, to just be there, not have, and it's hard because I'm a fixer. I want to fix shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have this happens with my wife all the time where something will happen. And it's like, I don't know how to just be here for you without asking, what can I do? What do you need? Tell me. And there's nothing to be told. It's just be there, be present, let them have their moment till they calm down. And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
Come back to it maybe the next day or in the morning and say, then that's when you address like, hey, what do you need? What can we do better? And I think that's just one of those things that I think fortunately for us, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we canceled a contract that we had with geez, what, he wasn't a priest, he wasn't a pastor, I don't know what the hell he was. Matt,
Oh, your chaplain or whatever?
Yeah, our chaplain. So we canceled that, and we actually have an individual in our community that we are now working with, who him and his wife left business corporate world and started. It's called the Relationship Center, but they do counseling, just straight up counseling, and now strictly for us, if something happens on a call, we can call him up at any time, middle of the night kind of deal. Might have to call him a couple times, he said, but he'll come in and meet with you if you're having a hard time with something. And they're a little bit more on the faith-based orientation and approach to it all. However, if you're not of that type, they can kind of leave it out to the side a little bit and just be there as far as counseling goes. But I think moving towards that step is for our department in general was a huge positive movement.
Yeah, Vandenberg has a great point in here. He's saying, we do medical checkups annually. We never do a mental health thing, right?
Yeah.
And Stein threw in another thing here too, right? When it comes to the mental health, right? Like being the tough guy, that mentality of being a tough guy, it's got to stop. There has to be, and it doesn't mean that like firehouse ball busting and joking has to stop, right?
It has to stay.
It has to stay. I agree.
It helps get you through that moment, but being able to stop and say, hey, all right, what's going on?
So-and-so's not all right.
Like, it's not all right. Let's talk about it real quick.
Yeah.
All right, we're good now. Cool. Go, and then you start cracking in with the jokes. Like, all right, now go clean the shitters or some shit. You jump in with that. Yeah, you start to normalize being back at work, right? Yeah. Once you've addressed it. But like I said, I don't want anybody listening live now or later on the road in a podcast to think that I don't care about cancer, because I do.
Yeah.
Cancer runs in my family, cancer runs in my wife's family. I've seen a lot of people recently pass of cancer. But I think that it's just one of those things. Firefighting is inherently dangerous. It's kind of just the normal now that people get cancer that are in our profession because of what we're exposed to in general. I mean, it's even the cavi wipes at the hospital. They say on the back of the container, this is carcinogenic, used with gloves. And I can't tell you for how long before somebody pointed that out to me that I was using cavi wipes without gloves on. Yeah. And to this day, I see people using cavi wipes without gloves on. So mental health definitely needs to be addressed more heavily.
I'm with you.
Especially because of last year, there's several firefighter suicides because of things that they were exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Matt Savage, right? Your lieutenant here. He says, and I have a parallel too, right? Don't try to fix it, just listen. He says 15 years he's still dealing with the same issue. I think we all deal with that to a certain extent, right? Like, because that's what we are. We're fixers, and it's hard for us to shut that part down, right?
Yeah, you go instantly to that mode. You see somebody upset or in pain of some kind, and it's like, well, you start doing your head-to-toe assessment, like, are you hurt? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it's like you try to assess the situation to figure out what it is, what protocol you need to pull up and fix the problem, when you just need to be there. Let the person have their moment. They calm down. all right, cool. What happened? What was the triggering event?
Yeah.
Cool. How can we prevent this triggering event from occurring again? Or if it does happen again, how can we better handle the situation?
Yeah, and Justin Kenyon brings in a great point. By the way, Justin, good luck. You know what I'm talking about. Good luck.
I know what he's
I
talking
wish
about
you
too.
success here.
I don't know why he's not. He's just a couple houses down from me. He should be here
It's
too.
funny. He could be in the background photobombing you. But
He probably
he
could.
he says, I also think that if guys aren't going to use a formal process, right, and a lot of our organizations don't, then you do got to figure out who your go-to people are. And
Absolutely.
that's what he's putting out here. And I couldn't agree more, right? If it doesn't exist, and I would almost say with anything in your organization, if it doesn't exist in a formal process, but it's necessary,
Yeah.
do it
But
informally.
there is a formal process, right? It's called the Employee Assistant Program.
Yeah, which
But that is so taboo.
Yep.
Nobody wants to go through with it, right? Because what's going to get documented? What's going to come back to my employer? What are the people going to find out? There's like nobody really wants to do with it. So you might be thinking that I need to call a doctor. I need to call a doctor. Well, what doctor do I call? Well, I got to go through my primary. Well, my primary's hard as hell to get through, and there are good resources out there that are available for I hate saying first responders, but there's no other really way to say cover all the bases,
No.
right? But like my therapist, her husband's a firefighter, and she specializes in talking to first responders and military. So when I brought all my baggage to her, she's like, yeah, don't feel bad. You are not the first person. You're not the last.
Yeah.
Let's just figure out how we can, what you need to accept what's going on, handle it, and not necessarily move on. Right? Because that's not proper terminology to tell somebody that's got problems. Well, you just got to move on from it. No. How are we going to address this and handle it better from here on out? Is a way to look at it. So I'm extremely thankful for her. But yeah, I take medication. I need it. But it was shocking, realistically, to figure out how much of how I was raised played a part in who I am today. That was a big shocker about it. So.
I'm happy for you that you were able to find that, right, and you made that happen. I commend you again. Outside of that, as well, and Trevor, I know you're listening, and I pushed it kind of in a couple different directions too. If you're looking about stories of resiliency and those and mental health, Rick George. If you can remember one name, Rick George. Look up Rick George. Listen to his story, right? If you think big tough guys can't talk about things that have happened in their life, Rick George looks like he should be like, a tight end in the NFL and as tough as nails. Please, if you get a chance, look up him. It's incredible to hear some of those things. And Kevin, your story again, what you're telling. Thank you for sharing that. Not everybody shares those kinds of things, and it's
I mean,
realistically
too. Another. I mean, you don't have to listen to all the podcasts, but you just look into Jocko Willick's
Absolutely.
Good. Just watch that video. Good.
All right.
That's it. Basically. Oh, your girlfriend broke up with you. Good. What are you going to do now to get better? What are you going to do? It's basically something bad happens to you. Look at it as good. This is an opportunity to learn from, to grow from, and what am I going to do to move on? That's going to make me better down the road. It's a great little when you need some motivation. It's good motivation.
Awesome, love it.
Yeah, what else we got to talk about here? There's a few other things, I think.
So yeah, I got 3 more questions, and then we're wrapped for our stuff. So again, if you guys got any questions other than those 3, put it, and we'll throw them in there for sure. But we're gonna move to these next, or I guess final 3 questions, right? So currently, triage the state of the American Fire Service.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give me a little bit to go on. I wasn't like, what are you?
So before this was like everybody sucked. I kind of didn't write it very well. I would like you to tell me do you think we're green EMS, right? Where are we?
Sure.
In the
All right.
green? Are we in the yellow? Are we in the red? Or are we in the black? Where are we?
I say we're some. And I'm trying to look at it this, fairly optimistic. Is we're somewhere between the green and the yellow.
All
We're kind of in and in between. As far as we're doing we're doing well with these grassroots individuals that are coming up, that are really emphasizing on firemanship and the craftsmanship of being good at our trade. Um, Whereas I think when you and I got into it, a lot of it was just textbook, and the only time that you really got out and saw anything cool might be going to FDIC. Whereas now there's so many other little conferences that have popped up on the map that I don't want to say are better than FDIC, but I think give a better look into of what real American firefighting is about and what it's like currently, and where it needs to go. So that's why I'd say we're kind of in that yellow to green, where we still have some kinks to work out with some of state level academy stuff,
Yeah.
and handbook stuff that has to be looked at and maybe reworded or changed or removed, and put more emphasis on these grassroots individuals, like you say, that are coming up. I think the days of national or state level fire academies, large fire academies, might be frowned upon almost, because they turn out a generic firefighter, which is great, right? Everybody needs to have a base to start off at. Whereas, you look at, and I hate using big cities as examples, but I'm a huge West Coast fan. But you look at like a Stockton, a Vallejo, and Oakton, LA County, where you can almost come off the street as a nobody and go through their 12-week program and become a state certified firefighter, but then have on top of it all the tradition of that department instilled in you, and be better coming onto the job, instead of just, you went to this 8-week academy, now go try and get a job somewhere and basically learn the job over again where you're working at.
Oh yeah, all the training scars, right?
Yeah, and that's Jay, cover your ears. But a lot of those training scars from the Quad 2 pushing through academy had to be cosmetically removed, if you will, with a cheese grater. But I can remember, all right, this is what we're doing tonight. Cool. Now go back to your department and do it some more and figure it out, take it to the next level there. I didn't necessarily have all those opportunities. And when I got my position in Wakanda, I was like, I have this certificate that says I'm a fireman, but you guys are going to have to teach me a lot still. Because I went to the Quad 2 pushing through academy, and whereas if XYZ fire department has their own in-house academy where they have even 10 candidates, you don't have to have 30 or 40, right? Because that's just crazy.
Yeah.
But you have your 5 to 10 candidates, and you can run a solid in-house academy, where you're hitting state objectives to get the certificate, but you're learning more specifically to how that organization works or how it really is on the street, as opposed to what the textbook is saying. I think we turn out better firefighters out the bat. But those are just my views and opinions.
Yeah, I mean, to home grow somebody makes a ton of sense. I guess the only struggle now is with staffing.
Staffing
Matt,
and money.
Matt said more retirees than hirees. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the people you pick up, they kind of already have to be trained. But then where's the pool that feeds that?
I know you've talked about previously in some other podcasts with somebody about qualifications, and I don't want to say we really dropped our qualifications for our upcoming full-time test, but we changed them a little bit to where you don't have to be engineer, state certified engineer right now at time of application or higher. and you only have to be a firefighter EMT at time of application. However, at time of hire, we want you to be a paramedic. But if you're still not FAE, we can get that accomplished as part of your probationary period, right? But that's one thing that we've changed, where it was traditionally we only want firefighter, paramedic, engineers applying for positions here to be hired.
That's interesting. I didn't know you guys were engineers.
Yeah,
Required that at the time.
mm-hmm. At the time, yeah. It was one of those things where, hell, even when I got hired, it was like maybe 3 weeks, a month, where my CPAT was going to expire, quote unquote, because we require a current CPAT at time of hire also now. I went and spent another $150-$160 on to get another CPAT card, just to make sure. Like I even went out and I made sure I got a fresh one, because I know it's about to expire. But yeah, we've kind of softened them a little bit, just trying, because just like you guys, try and go back to the days of when you and I were testing, and it was, you show up to a test and you have numerous individuals to test against.
Oh yeah.
That we can maybe broaden our pool. So there's one other thing too. If we have time here after your next couple questions, that I added in. I don't know if you saw it, but I added it in on the questions about ever losing your passion. There's
Yeah, I see it.
that 2 to 5 year brick wall that you hit
Yeah.
when you're on the job. There's kind of a brick wall, so we can come back to that after your next couple of questions here if there's time. So,
Well, I think we kind of covered one of them, but maybe one was who best personifies being a firefighter, and I asked that not just from influence, but an example for me, it was Bobby Halton. And who would that be for you? And it can be someone you work with. It doesn't have to be someone.
I would have to say, again, this is one of those things that's hard to nail one person down, right? Because it's not trying to show favoritism to anybody. But I would have to probably say, for me, would be Al Schlick. And I know his name has been mentioned before with Timmy Leidig.
It's okay.
But I would say, from where I worked in Wakanda, it'd be Al Schlick. When I worked in Grays Lake, I'd probably go with Pat O'Connor. He's another great down to earth guy. If I had more time at Lincolnshire, I'd probably have somebody to offer up from there. I don't want to make it seem like I got nobody, but I didn't really get a lot of time there.
Yeah.
And then working at IFSI, my direct boss, Sammy Vega, he's a blue shirt down at Calumet City. But realistically, anybody that's just into the job, but then can take what the job is and explain it in such a way that that just makes sense. Like that's super easy. I know I've been told this before, but why didn't it make sense now until you just said it, right? It's that person that at 2:30 in the morning on an ambulance call, that even though it's the same reoccurring address that you always go to, shows the same compassion to the person at hand, helping them out, getting them back up, or taking them back to the hospital. Even though you might be rather annoyed with always seeing this individual, it's that person that can constantly display compassion. I think is what personifies a good firefighter. Yeah, just to see that you're working with that individual makes your day better instantly. You could be having a terrible time, but to know that you're working with person XYZ, yeah, it could be a lot worse though. At least I get so and so with me.
In a
So
way, you're almost saying anyone
uh,
can represent that, which is pretty powerful.
yeah, realistically anyone can. Like I said, it's hard to just nail one person down because I've had a lot of great examples, but if I got to drop names, those are the names I'm gonna drop.
I love it. What would be the single most important trait for a good, long, successful career?
Don't become a fireman. No. Have fun. Have the most fun that you possibly can, because it's something that I maybe in the last couple months read or heard or whatever. It's like did you have a bad day, or did you let one bad moment in a day ruin your entire day, or ruin your entire week, or ruin your entire month, right? So it's look at your experiences day to day, shift to shift, as all right, is it really as bad as I'm making it out to be, or was it just that 5 minutes that was bad, and I just gotta look at it, accept it, understand it, and do whatever I can to make sure it doesn't happen again. So
Have fun.
take
Love it.
take things for what they are, and it's hard. And Matt's probably shaking his head like, that two-faced son of a bitch. Because well, something will happen. I'll walk in his office and I'm like, can you believe this shit right now? Like, what?
It'd
the
be like,
hell?
have fun.
Yeah. Now here I am. Oh yeah, just was it just a bad 5 minutes, or did you really have a bad day?
He goes, wink, wink.
Yeah, wink.
He's
wink.
taking notes. He's already ready to go.
Yeah. But it's just do your best to have fun. Enjoy the career. Enjoy your career for what it is. Because I've shared many retirement ceremonies and moments with retired members where they look at you and they're like, where did all that time go? Where they look back and it's like, yeah, that 30 years really wasn't that long. I miss this part of the job. I don't miss the bullshit, right? Whatever the bullshit might be, but what they always end up missing is the time on shift with the guys.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Even if everyone has their favorites. Obviously, you get along with who you get along with, but just enjoy the time that you're given, the best that you can, because it's at the end of the day, that's all you have is the time. So
I love it. Well, let's talk about your 2 to 5 year block. And
yeah,
we didn't get any questions. Nobody bit, but
yeah,
still,
that's all right.
this is something to talk about. I appreciate
Again,
this.
and maybe it's something that I look back and I see as a reoccurring issue across the board, department to department, from a lot of people that I've met along the way. For whatever reason, the year after your probationary year, till maybe your 5th year, 7th year, there's like this block that happens where you're not satisfied. Nothing satisfies you. Nothing makes you happy. There's always something to complain about. You take things a little too seriously, a little too much to heart. And I think it has to do with instant gratification of that. I can go on my phone right now and pull up whatever, and I have it. I want to buy something. I go to Amazon and it's here in 2 days. Sometimes the next day. That this is a long game, right? So again, kind of tying back into that what makes for a good career. It's a long game. Um, you can't change everything when you want to early on in your career. Probably not going to change a thing. Um, and part of my downfall that I was having a hard time with was I got a big passion for hand tools, for hose, for nozzles, for equipment in general. Everything that we have on our apparatus, I like keeping it fixed. I like keeping it in stock. I like keeping it fresh and current the best that I can. And there's a roadblock to get ahead of that, right? With administration and budgets. What do we actually need? Well, we already have this. What's wrong with it? Well, it's 20 years old, and there's something that's better out there. Well, does this still get the job done? Well, kinda. Then what's wrong with it? Right? It's that constant. Well, what's wrong with what we have? And again, firemen being firemen, what do we want to do? Fix things. We want to make them better. We think there's a lot of new and great ideas out there, or tools, or ways to approach things, and we want to change stuff, right? What's that saying? Firemen hate two things: change and the way it is, right? We're never happy. There's always some kind of constant state of evolution, and I am a firm believer every fireman has some level of ADHD, right? Where it's just we got a little squirrel up here that's bouncing around in a little squirrel cage, and it's just that's why we love caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, etc. Um, but it's that 2 to 5 year that I think a lot of people hit, where they just get in this position where it's like they feel stuck. They got people above them that aren't listening. They got people coming in underneath them that don't know anything, and it's this brick wall you hit. And if there's anything that I can offer to that is, if you're listening and you're like, this kind of sounds like me, sit back, analyze what you're having a hard time with, and you don't have to like it, but if you can reach an understanding of, okay, I'm trying to change something that's been here for the last 30 or 40 years, and I've only been here for 2, or I've been here for 5. I'm probably going to have a little bit of resistance. And that if this is something I feel really passionate about, you've got to plant that seed and water it every day and appreciate its growth. And that is one thing that I have come into and realized looking back, like, that was me my 3rd year. I thought I knew everything. I thought I was this great person, and I was the best at this, or I was the best at that, or I need the most on this. And it's like, yeah, I really didn't know shit. And I still don't know shit. However, what I've learned is the approach. I approach things very differently now, very tactfully, using better language, better grammar, more polite emails. um, yeah. Sit back and analyze what you're going through, and understand that this whole career is a long game. And that's something else as far as going back to that position to position. Right now for us, you can hit 3 years as a firefighter full time and start being, depending on your certification and everything, you can be eligible to test for lieutenant. And like, that's cool. Does a 3-year individual really have the maturity, have the experience, have the know-how, et cetera, to, in the event that they score well enough, right? Because it's all just score based. Are they the best person at that time to be promoted with only 3 or 4 years, 5 years on the job? That's something to take into consideration. I don't feel I have accomplished enough in the 7 years of full-time experience at Wakanda, and 12 years now. In September, I think I'll have 12 years total.
No, we're 13 in May.
Yeah, total
next
career.
month. Yeah,
but
total.
I'm just talking about in at Wakanda.
Yeah.
12 years in September for me at Wakanda.
Yeah. I got you. That's
Yeah.
right.
I still don't feel I have the know-how or anything to move on to the next step. I feel like there's still a few things that I need to accomplish to truly be ready. And I'm sure Matt's shaking his head right now, like, you're going to take the next test, asshole. Like, just shut up. You're going to be a lieutenant one day, and you really got to be. You can't just want the promotion to have, I have power now. I can change things, or uh, I get more money. I have better benefit, whatever it is, right? More time off. That's not what that position is there for. That's not what that driver position is there for. You really got to, I believe in taking your time in your positions, because what's the point of getting promoted battalion chief when you have 10 years full-time experience and you're still expected to do another 20 years? What are you going to do in that 20 years? Drive a car for 10 years? If you keep chasing that promotion, you're going to stop loss yourself. You're going to hit a point where you can't do anything more, and you still have to put in so many years to reach retirement, to reach your pension. And what are you going to do in those positions?
Yeah, there's a shelf life for positions for sure.
Right. Yeah. So, like, the shelf life for fire chief for us right now, I would say like about 7 years. 7 years is really good. If you're not in there for at least 5, what are you doing, kind of deal. And if you're in there for more than 10, you're a dinosaur. You need to get out. We need something fresh, right? I know the training division, across the board, it's one of those things. It's like you're more like a 5 to 7 year, because you want some new ideas brought in for training, so on and so forth. It's like you can only do so much good in each position before you max out and people get tired of you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love being a blue shirt. I want to be a blue shirt for a little bit longer, and then, help those get through those brick walls that they hit in that 2 to 5 year range. Because probationary year, right? You're smitten, you're happy, everything's great. I got a full-time job, I got health care, I got benefits, I'm starting my pension.
Whoa, I actually have days off. Yeah,
I have days off. I get, everything's great. And by the time you hit the end of the year, it's like, well, this sucks, that sucks. Why don't we do it this way? Over here does it so much better. And it's like, yeah. If you're listening and you're in that point and you want to talk to me about it, come talk to me. I'll help you get through it, because it's not worth the mental anguish that you'll suffer for a period of time before you realize, I still have a couple years I got to get through before I can maybe really change something. So,
well, you and Matt have your career development to talk about, so you got that coming for you in your next shift together. So
tomorrow
you got that. Yeah, there you go. Tomorrow.
I got I got a sore throat.
Yeah.
I'm feeling.
You saw it here, right? He just, he's throwing up over there.
I think I'm getting the black lung pop. Yeah.
Well, so. Kevin, I appreciate you coming here and talking, and you've shared a lot of really, really great points. You said you didn't have wisdom. I call bullshit. We got that.
I have opinion.
Sure.
Maybe I'll have wisdom.
You keep telling yourself that. That's fine.
When I'm retired and everything, maybe I'll have wisdom. But right now, it's just my views and opinions, none of which reflect my employer or any other institution that I may work or have worked for. So, a little disclaimer there.
Oh my God. Well,
I'll tell you right now, too, to everybody. This is so far out of my comfort zone to put myself out here like this. But we got to have a conversation on who suggested my name. Yeah, we're gonna have to have a conversation on that one.
All right. we'll stick with after
I'm,
we
I'm,
kill
I'm
the
very curious.
after we
So,
kill the
but,
stream here.
Yeah.
But we'll wrap up here. That's episode 6. Thank you for listening. If you're on Spotify here later, thank you for listening. If you watched, thank you for your comments and stuff. It's always cool to have you guys interact with us while we're talking.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Hey, we figured it out, right? It's all good. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, because I'm horrible at doing this and I need to do it for the rest of my other podcast episodes, but that's beside the point. How can somebody get a hold of you if they wanted more information or something like that?
If you wanna be the messenger, they can get a hold of you. Otherwise, I'm not on Facebook, but I'm on Instagram. I don't know if you can share that. You know, I'm out there. You should be able to just search my name. I pop up as Road Nurse 162.
There you go. I was gonna say you catch me off guard here.
Yeah, but do I put my phone number out there?
You can if you want. I don't know. I don't know. Everybody always gets like 8 million calls about their car's extended warranty anyway. So I mean, what?
What do you mean? I've never gotten those.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're comfortable putting it out there, I mean.
Yeah. No. That's probably the easiest way. My number is 847-337-5603. Yeah. Text is probably easiest. But otherwise, yeah, they can get a hold of you. Do a little in between work or whatever. So
I can play the middleman if needed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
So,
thanks, Kevin.
Absolutely.
And thank you everyone for watching and listening. Catch you later on the next one. We got Michael Vitale coming
Mikey
up.
Vitz.
Yeah, he's a couple weeks. I might do a little bonus one for FDIC. I'm still kind of playing that, but it won't be an official one.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. All right.
Either way, have a nice night, everyone.